when you're watching Avatar Fire and Ash. So, this movie, there was a lot of build up to this movie. I won't lie, because I really like the way that they ended Avatar The Way of Water, where it's like, now we have to take our stand, now we have to fight back. And I was kind of expecting them to have, like, for a little bit more time to pass, but there was more so like, it was immediately after, you know what I mean? After Nateyam's death and his funeral, it kind of like goes straight into, the after effects, the events of what happens after the Way of Water. And we see Jake trying to rally everybody together. He's trying to like get people to fight the sky people the way that they fight with guns and weapons, and none of them are really taking to it. None of them are really gravitating towards that. You know what I'm saying? And we can see that there's a little bit of like, I don't know, there's a bit of a resistance to it. There's a sort of like, we'll fight them our way, with which is like, I get, but at the same time, it's like people get stuck in their traditions. They get stuck in this way of like, this is how things are, and this is the way things has to be. And throughout this movie, you see that constantly confronted and fought and pushed and pulled against. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, I liked how Loak was the narrator for this one. Although I did kind of feel like I wish he had more of like a stronger presence in this one, but I get that they were. I get that after the events of the second one, they made him the narrator to kind of deal with or process the death of his brother, and now he's gonna have to like fight in this war and be a part of the family and stuff. So it's a real stepping up for Loak, especially because he doesn't have Natam anymore. Last movie, he had his older brother to kind of like be with. You know what I'm saying? And this time, he's all alone. So, anyways, well, not alone, but you know what I mean. Is that like he's the eldest son? He's the son now. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Spider's there, but anyways, I really liked what they did with Spider. What they did with him in this movie. Um, Man, really big acting opportunities and story moments with the actor. I forget his name, but Spider, he really does a good job in this movie, and he kind of like he changes everything, with him, with his mask situation and him being able to breathe in the air and like become sort of like a human Navi hybrid. You know what I mean? Thanks to Kiri, thanks to her like basically channeling Awa and changing and transforming him into like this new human hybrid that can breathe the air in Pandora and everything. And I mean, I think it's really cool. I think it's a really big biological shift. And because of that, it's obvious where the plot is going forward. It's obvious where like things are going to start heading down, you know what I mean? Things are going to start heading down a road of, you know, the world is going to head down a road of, we need to study and we need to pick apart this kid so that way we can basically, we ourselves as humans, earthlings, we can live on this planet without the need of oxygen masks or anything else. So he's a really dangerous threat. His biological transformation, his ascension into being a part of the people or being Navi has forever changed everything. You know what I'm saying? And so watching this, you see like, man, I really liked seeing his relationship with everybody else and how his difference is acknowledged and it's challenged, but in the end, it's kind of like, I don't want to say celebrated, but it's accepted. He becomes accepted by the end of it. And I thought that was really, really cool for him. When it comes to Kiri and her channeling of Awa, and it's still all a mystery. Obviously we can all point to Awa and say that she's the prophet, you know what I'm saying? She's the Jesus Awa, you know what I'm saying? She's the born daughter of Awa and whatnot, you know what I mean? Surrogate via Grace's avatar. But there's still some mystery to that. We still don't know the full picture. But it's her connection through that, which was able to help create Spider. And I thought that was really good. And I hope they go into more detail on it in the next movie because she's supposed to be narrating the next movie. And I have to say, hold on, the actor Spider kissing Kiri, kissing Sigourney Weaver, that when they did that on camera, when they showed that kiss on the screen, I was like, oh, my boy getting down and dirty with Kiri. I was like, yo, I was making jokes. I was like you know how his what's it called, the connection rope or the thing like to connect to Awa, like that little like the hair thing that they connect to all the animals and whatnot. I was like, yo, he's his other, you know what I mean, hair piece is sticking up. You know what I'm saying? It's like he doesn't. Where is, anyways. I was just making boner jokes or whatnot, but it was a cute little scene. You know what I mean? A cute little bit of romance. I don't feel like they overdid it or anything, but I do feel like it was a bit of, oh wow, they're doing it. You know what I'm saying? I thought there was gonna be more build up, but it's kind of, I liked it. I thought it was romantic. I thought it was cute. I thought it was funny, and also like when you think about Sigourney Weaver kissing this guy. But obviously that was all CGI. That was CGI, and they confirmed it. It was like, no, I didn't kiss this kid, and I had an actor stand in, and he had somebody else stand in for him, and yada yada yada. So it was just kind of funny that way. I thought it was hilarious. Anyways, going to Neytiri, man, I really liked. I liked that they gave a lot more screen time to Neytiri this time around. I thought it was really cool, um, especially because she didn't get that much in the last movie. I feel like this time we got to break her down a little bit more. We got to see just a little bit more of her and how she feels about Spider, the humans, and that theme of like hating your opponent, the enemy, or others. Something different. And slowly kind of Jake kind of like confronts her on it and is just like, hey, you can't live like this, constantly hating them, constantly hating Spider, constantly hating me or our kids or anything. Like, you got to let it go and learn to accept things. And I thought that it was a really accepting moment when she was able to, like, obviously she didn't stop Jake. Jake was able to come to his own conclusion that, like, I really like that scene where he's debating whether or not to kill Spider or, let him live. And letting him live was definitely the right choice. Or, it was the emotional choice, right? Like, killing him is the logical step, right? The humans, if they study Spider, they'll be able to recreate it or try to recreate it, or they'll torture him, or all of these other different things, and they'll be able to live on the planet. They'll take over, they'll kill all the Na'vi. It's like, the humans will dominate. Logically, it's like, get rid of the problem. It's like, if they kill him, then they won't have anything else, right? Like, then it's still our home, it's still our turf. They can't really do anything. But letting him live because of their feelings towards him, because Jake actually cares about Spider, because Neytiri cares about Spider, I think that shows that, like, they're finally accepting it, and they're finally realizing that, like, we can't be like them. We have to be like us. We have to choose us. Choose our quote unquote humanity and our feelings and our emotions to make the right choices. You know what I'm saying? Emotional and probably wrong and probably a lot of problems with it, but it's not right. It's not right. And you can't live like that. You can't have that. So that scene I always thought was really, I thought that scene was really interesting. And then Neytiri shows up and everybody's all safe and okay, and she's like, we'll figure out another way. You know what I mean? It's not going to be because of us. It's not going to be because we did something bad for the greater good. We're going to do good for the greater good, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? And I also thought it was funny that, like, during that whole scene, Spider had to pee. Or maybe he already peed and whatnot, but I thought that whole tension, the buildup of, like, that decision. It was really important. It really mattered. Um, when it comes to, I don't know, let me say, when it comes to Loak in this movie, I feel like he stepped up, but he also went away. I don't know. It's kind of weird, right? Where it's like he's the narrator, but he's not actively. I don't know. I feel like because we spent so much time with him in The Way of Water, with his connection to the Tulkun and to oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on its name. What's his Tulkun called? No way, I'm forgetting it. It's called no, I'm forgetting it. Anyways, his Tulkun, creating that bond with him, I thought that he would be accepted, but he wasn't. He was still outcast and he was still like banished. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was really interesting that there's still those traditions in place. And this is where Loak defies the tradition. He defies the Navi or the Sea People way in basically choosing his Tolkun and choosing that, like, we can't keep on living the way that we've been living. And when they do that whole matriarch kind of like meeting or whatever, where they have like the council and everybody like talks to each other, and Loak shows up with, you know, Payakan. He shows up with Payakan and they kind of talk things over. And they see the damage that's being caused to the other Tolkun, where it got blinded and basically like all messed up and everything, right? And we see like the real effects of it all. They're able to like come to the decision that like we have to change. The traditions and the values that we used to have aren't the same now. You know what I mean? We're at war now. And so I too would like to live peacefully. I too would like to, you know, live this complete life of pacifism and love, not hate, and fighting other people. You know what I'm saying? But it comes to a certain point where pacifism fails. It comes to a certain point where you can't just let any old willy nilly thing happen. You know what I'm saying? Because then you get people like, you know, that guy with the arm. I forget who he is. That Australian guy. Like, you get him, and there's no reasoning. There's no like. It doesn't matter how beautiful the Tulkun are, or how precious the babies are, or the mothers are, and that bond that they have with each other. It's about their greed first and foremost, and they'll kill and they'll steal and they'll destroy whatever they have to get what they want. You know, so in that moment, I see Loak able to break through the tradition and fight against what is commonly like seen as like, this is our way. Well, we have to figure out another way. I feel like those values are important, but this is how things are. This is how things have to be now. You know, we have to change. We have to change. We have to adapt. We have to be better. And so I think because of that, we're able to see, you know, we're just able to see Loak step up in a way that Jake couldn't do alone. Jake as Toruk Makto couldn't do alone. Jake alone couldn't get them to change their way by himself. They needed examples. They needed someone like Payakan. They needed someone like the other Tolkun that got hurt to convince the matriarch that this is a fight and we have to step up. Otherwise, it's going to be slow and painful for all of us, you know? And then I want to talk about Took, but Took is just kind of, they don't really give us anything. Oh, let's talk about Quaritch. Quaritch and the Fire Tribe. Man, I really liked the Fire Tribe. I thought that was such a... They were villains, but they weren't villains. It's still the humans first and foremost, but I like the difference of the feeling of like Awa and whatnot. You know what I mean? Where it's like she was basically like deserted by Awa, or her feelings towards god, the goddess of Ewa. And that's why I liked scenes between Varang and Kiri, was seeing the opposition, two of the exact opposites facing each other. Varang hates Ewa. She doesn't believe in it. She felt deserted and cheated and like left on her own feet, left on her knees to like cry. And through the ashes, she stole and she robbed and she gained strength so that way she could survive and help her people. You know what I'm saying? And then Kiri, who's like the reincarnation of Ewa, uh, birthed from Grace's avatar by Immaculate Conception. It's just all kind of coming together to create this weird thing. But anyways, we see those two interact, and then we see Quaritch and Varang interact. And throughout the movie, we see that Quaritch is constantly pushed aside because he's not human. He's constantly deserted. He's constantly, challenged and unchallenged and stuff. And in this movie, we kind of see how he becomes involved in the Na'vi process, how he becomes involved with the Na'vi, how he kind of, works with Varang's fire Na'vi tribe and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And he feels it. He does feel it. He does sense the feeling, or has that sense of like, there is something more to this place. There is something more to Pandora. There is something more to this life, to this way of living that the humans, they just don't get. They just don't understand, The Colonel, the Mrs. Soprano, she just doesn't get it because he's actually been out there. He's actually lived among them. He's actually like flown the creatures, and he's actually like connected with another Na'vi woman, right? Like he's still the same, same soldier, the same, same accent, the same talk, the same kind of person, but he's not. He's different because he's this avatar. And also his connection with Spider and their bond throughout the movie just gives him that piece of humanity that he'll do anything to save his son, even working with Jake, Throughout the movie, time and time again, they put aside their differences to work together to save their kids, to save Spider, to save whoever, And I like that. It gives him at least some sort of redeeming quality, you know what I mean? Even though he's ruthless and he's really trying to hunt down Jake and the others, he still has like a bit of a soft spot for his son, And so that's why I like at that final scene where they're fighting together, or they're able to like come into the fight with each other, and they're able to see they save Spider, okay? But then they stop fighting, and Miles Quaritch basically just runs away. There's no like real resolution to it. And I've seen it all the time where people are like complaining that like, can they finally just like kill somebody, or like finally fight and just like somebody die, And time and time again, we've seen that like Miles Quaritch is losing, but he keeps getting chances to become different. And I think that's the cool thing, is that like, even as, stubborn as he is, he won't just die, but at the same time, it's, he's working through it. He's figuring it out. He's still feeling like a human instead of feeling like what he is now, The old Miles Quaritch, the one from the first Avatar, he would have never understood the connection to his flying, animal. And he would never feel the connection to another Na'vi, the way that he does. But he does, And so it's it's a really big moment, and I like that they took their time to show us like how he's living, and show us like his new experiences and what he's going through, and how he's still Miles Quaritch, but then you add in the Navi stuff, and it's incredible. It's new. It's different. It's a whole new world has opened up to him, and yet he's still thinking like small human American, you know? And so throughout this movie, we just see so many people having to accept changes and adapt. And so my favorite character in this movie is Jake. I mean, Jake time and time again is such an active protagonist. He's constantly moving, he's constantly doing stuff. Um Another great part of this movie that I love that builds off of the second one is his connection with his son Loak. And I think that, obviously I disagree with how harsh he's being on Loak, especially over Natayam's death. But then throughout the movie, you kind of see that like he's not he's not really mad at Loak, or he doesn't 100% blame Loak. Sure, what they did was stupid, and yes, his brother died because Loak went to go save Spider, and he wouldn't be in that position if he just like left Spider behind. But at the same time, it's like, you know, it was Spider. He was trying to save him. You know what I mean? He didn't want Natam to get shot or killed or anything like that, but it happened. And Jake is more so pointing the finger at Loak instead of really pointing the finger at himself, or he hasn't fully like he fully hasn't accepted that he failed, or finally has like been like, it's my fault. I said I could protect the family, and then Natam died. So he's looking for somebody to blame. And he looks at Loak because Loak is more like Jake than anybody else. When Natam was around, he was the perfect son. He was like Neytiri. He had 4 fingers. He was obedient. He cared, right? Like, he was strong. He was the oldest. He was the firstborn. Like, he could kind of make Natam better than him. In that sense, in that, like, he's full Navi. Whereas Loak has 5 fingers. He's angry. He's stubborn. He's arrogant. He gets himself into trouble. He's wild. He does everything wrong, just like Jake, And so he's kind of like angry at himself more than Loak. And throughout the movie, we see them kind of like learn to repair their relationship and finally accept that, like, this is the way things are now. There is no Natam, and I can't do everything alone. I need Loak. And so there's a great moment when they're doing the battle sequence in the third act, where it's Jake going out to battle with Neytiri, but Jake is telling Spider and the kids, they're like, hey, you kids need to stay here. And Loak's like, I want to go fight. And he's just like, I can't go out there and fight if you're out there, if I'm worried about you, okay? So I need you to stay here. So, Loak, you have to protect the family. You protect Kiri, you protect Took, you protect Spider, and if anything happens to us, you get out of here, right? You run and you hide. You figure out a way to hide. You get out there and you just run for your life, okay? And so that was his role. And then as the fight prolongs, as they go through the battle, the situation changes. It's the same situation as the second movie, where they're trapped on the boat and they're held hostage and whatnot and all this other stuff, right? And you're kind of thinking to yourself, like, okay, what now? Jake has been like, he has an arrow in his leg and he has to go save his family. And so now there was just a really cool moment, a really beautiful moment where Jake was able to talk to Loak, and he was like, I need you now. You know what I mean? Before, when we were going into battle, I didn't need you. I could go out there by myself, and if I get hurt, I die. That's the chance I took. And I couldn't live with myself if I went into battle with you. Like, I can't just dispose of you. I have to protect you above all else. you know? So that's why he made that decision of like, you stay here, protect the family. If anything happens to me, you get out. But this time it's family. I need you. I need my wingman. I need you by my side. We're going out there. And then Loak fully accepting it. And I kind of wish there was a little bit of a moment where Loak was like, missed Natam or thought of Natam in that moment of like, man, this is the responsibility that Natam was having. This is the burden, or this is the weight, or the expectations of him. You know what I mean? Now that he's no longer around, Loak has to step up. Like right now, Loak has to step up, and because of that, he's now in a position where he has to shoot and kill and do all this other stuff. And I thought that was really cool. I thought that was really nice. Um, Another aspect of this movie, Ronal, played by Kate Winslet, who's fantastic in this movie. I knew that when the time skip didn't happen and she was still pregnant and she was going out to battle, I knew she wasn't going to make it out. I just knew it. I knew it. I don't know. I don't know why they did that. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I knew she wasn't making it out alive. And I had a feeling that, she was going to ask Nitiri to raise her baby. And again, it's just like a new thing that they have to adapt to. They have a new baby now, a new child that they have to raise, that they have to teach. And I was also kind of like, you're asking Neytiri to raise it, but your husband is out there. And I imagine he was devastated, but he's probably going to be in the baby's life or whatever, you know what I mean? It'll probably be like a shared custody situation or whatever, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a Sully, but it's like a Sully half, Tanwari, Ronal-ish thing. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's up in the air. Anyways, I really enjoyed this movie. I thought that. Oh, let me talk about the sky, like the sky travelers or whatever. What are they called? They're merchants, like they're flying around in the sky with like those animals, and they're like delivering trades and goods and whatnot. And then they get raided. I thought that was really cool. Yeah, I'm surprised they don't use more of those sky animals or those things for like battles, which is probably cool why they're introducing them now, because like in the Way of Water they had to introduce the Tolkun and Payakan, and now because they introduced it in the second film, they were able to use it in this third one without any like need for explanation. You know what I mean? Oh, we're shooting a rocket at Payakan. Well, his skin is so tough that it just deflects off. Or bullets just like don't affect Payakan, you know what I'm saying? And so when the matriarch and the other Tolkun start fighting, you feel their power and how they're able to contribute. And then the same with like the sky, whatever, the Elu and the Ikron, you know what I'm saying? Like you already understand their connection and their battle mechanics in the fight and whatnot, you know what I mean? And so in this one, they're introducing the sky element, or the day traders and those animals, and they're probably going to use it in the next one for fighting, for the battle, for war or whatever, So that'll be interesting. Yeah, other than that, I really liked Varang. I like that whole tribe. Again, I just like she's Navi also, but she just thinks differently. She's against what everybody else is going through. And for so long, you kind of feel like there's a sort of utopia, right? Like the Navi people are all perfect, and, it's the forest people and the reef people and, this thing. And then the humans are the big bad bullies, and they're the ones who are like the forces, and they're the evil ones. And yes, that is all true. But there's also Na'vi that don't like Na'vi, that are fighting against Na'vi, that don't believe in the same things as the Na'vi. They're pushed back and deserted and alone, and they steel and they fight back and they survive with their strength. And it's because of that mentality that um they're a threat, you know? So I think that's really cool. And yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It built off the second one so well. I thought that it really helped connect to all of the characters a little bit more, minus Took. And I do hope they give Took some time. It's just that it's a little bit harder now. I feel like now we're starting to get the wheels rolling on other stuff. Oh, they finally arrested Jake. Jake Sully. He was up for execution, and Neytiri saved him. I love that whole sequence where they saved him, and the guy who saved broke Sully out of the jail, out of the cell. I thought that was really cool. How he's standing up for the Tulkun, even though he's human and he might die, he's still standing up for them, and I thought that was cool too. Um, there was a moment. Oh well, after I watched it, I was like, all of the humans who are like recording or being like, we finally got Jake Sully, traitor to the human race, is like, a huge live stream. They're like, woo! Everybody's excited. And then the next day it's like, oh, he escaped. And everybody's like, damn it. You know what I mean? It's like, he got away again. I thought that was so funny. I was thinking about that. I was like, imagine waiting for like 10 plus years for Jake to finally be arrested and finally like, oh my gosh, he's gonna die, you know what I'm saying? But then he escapes again and it's all back to war again. I thought that was so funny. But anyways, that was also a great sequence. I enjoyed that. So man, I'm excited for the next one. I can't wait for the next one. I really do love these movies. And is it repetitive? Sure. But I like what they're doing with the story, and I'm interested to see how they move forward and how the next one's going to go. So, anyways, thank you so much for listening. I have no idea if this is still in theaters, but if it is, you should definitely go and see it. It's pretty good. So, anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.